Thank you, Director, Vice Director, Mr. Rivera, and all those here for coming out and hearing what we're up to and thinking about. If any of you know me, you know I'm really big on conversation, especially in the innovation space. So look forward to hopefully meeting with many of you throughout the day. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the SD organization and what our portfolio is made up of, and then talk about some specific contracting opportunities down the road. So let's see if we go to the next slide. There we go. So this is just a quick chart, colorful, to give you an idea of some of the things that are in the portfolio. So cloud computing, business systems, unified capabilities, unified communications for industry, command and control. And there's a lot of themes across those very diverse portfolios that can be found if you look close enough. And you see all the words on the little snake-like path there. And I think those are all important words. I'm not going to go over each one, but I think they should resonate well with most of the people in the audience. When you look at the portfolio, there's really 4 big buckets of work that we're looking at, plus a 5th one that's just really getting started as far as coalition. You know, we have a lot of activity you're going to hear about a little later on that's already occurring in the delivery of coalition capabilities, but there's a lot of planning work going on at the Pentagon that you may have heard of or be a part of with the mission partner environment for IS. Business systems. I think in this area, you know, you think about all the things that have gone on for the past 30, 40 years in industry has seen and deploying business systems. We're looking for COTS capabilities here. It's time that we take some of the things that we have homegrown and built over the years and consolidate and leverage industry best practices in the area of our business processes. You heard the director talk a little bit about costing, activity-based costing in particular, and how do we get to that in our financial systems. Unified capabilities, you've heard a lot about some of the individual programs that are out there. I'll show you a few of them. And DIOS, right, the big future unified capability for the department. Again, here we're looking at what commodity capabilities in specific are out there. So there's a commodity organization. Command and control. When you think about command and control and you look around the industry and say, boy, there's a lot of great stuff, but there's no single solution out there like there is for UC or even for business systems, where I can say, that's the perfect thing for the warfighter to figure out how to plan and manage their resources in the case of a real fight. So in this area, we're looking more at how can the government step up and work closely with our partners. I don't want to be able to distinguish who's sitting at the table. I want to see a team of people that are experts in their field that can help us to deliver better command and control for that warfighter who's got to sit there and make that immediate decision as to what to do when something's happening to our country, our nation, our warfighting capabilities. So this is a little different. This is more of the government getting back into being the lead system integrator, because this is core to who we are at DoD. We fight, we protect. And in this case, we need applications that can be tuned very agile to the latest warfighting needs, and we can't wait for something in that case, and I haven't found anything yet that's out there in the commodity space. And lastly, cloud. You've heard the initiatives going on at the DoD level. Everybody's excited about cloud. We're excited about cloud, and I think there's a lot of goodness there in cloud, and it's going to go around quite a bit. We've got some new contracts that have just been let. We've got some additional services. We're expanding in the cloud space, and this is about the infrastructure. But more than the infrastructure, it's about helping the department and those people that own applications to know how to think about, buy, and consume cloud services to drive down the cost. Just because we put a cloud capability out there doesn't mean the department's going to save money until the applications actually convert over, and you heard the director talk about that a little bit earlier. So some design tenets, if you will, or principles that we're thinking about across the SD portfolio. Enterprise services, right? Mobile enabled, resilient, multiple domains. As we build out things like commodity UC, we need to be thinking about, we can't just take this wonderful big cloud service that works for the largest network we run, the NIPRNet, and magically copy everything to every one of the other networks that are out there. There's a lot of work still to go on to consolidate networks and make them interoperable. So how do we extend those commodity services, the enterprise services, to all the networks that we need in a secure way that meets our policies. So we're pushing very hard to understand so we don't have to copy these instances of these capabilities for every single network. API driven. Everybody here probably has used some of the Google or Apple services that are out there. I'm not a marketing campaign for Google or Apple, but think about how nice it is to be able to go somewhere and say, I can use my application on my mobile device to get to my email. I can use a web browser to get to my email. I can use whatever third-party application I want to get to my email. So it's no longer acceptable for the DoD to think that we need to build services that only run on one user interface. There are many devices. You heard the director talk about any data, any device, anywhere. To do that, we can't limit them to just have one proprietary way to look at that information. So I'm looking to you in industry to help us get to API-driven capabilities so that you see the ability to make a voice call is not dependent on a physical device sitting on my desk. That should be dependent on the fact that I'm logged into a command and control system, looking at a situation where there's a missile coming at us and deciding I can click on that person's name and have a voice call right now. That's API driven. That's what we're looking for. So if you're coming to bring us services across the portfolio, talk to us about how your stuff is API driven and how we can leverage it beyond the standard user interface that comes with it out of the box. Cybersecurity. You hear us talk about this ad nauseum. It's important. We have to do it. We cannot allow our stuff to be compromised. But that's more than just the network. It's more than the perimeter. It's more than the device. Those are the things that are fighting with us today. Those are the things we can do right now. But as I mentioned with cloud, we can't just say we magically have cloud and our applications are benefiting until we convert and modify the applications. The same thing is true of cybersecurity. I'm looking for ways for you to help us build cyber into the applications. The applications have a better awareness of what the user is doing or wants to do. So why can't we use the application to better protect the data that the warfighter needs on any device, anywhere, at any time? So help us to build cyber into the data layer, into the application itself, back to that API driven. If each API already has cyber protections built into it, I should be able to leverage those APIs on any application, any way of looking at that data. Software development. You've heard the term DevOps, I'm sure. We all have. How do you do it? Well, we're starting to break ground on that. We're making some good strides in deploying DevOps, but what we're learning in the way is we have to break some glass. We're not used to collecting requirements any other way than a huge document that we get after a year-long work effort with all the community people that are involved as stakeholders in that application, handing that document off to somebody and saying, build me that thing I defined over a year ago. 2 years down the road, we get something, kind of looks like that document that we wrote. The warfighter's off doing it something totally different. And then we have to spend a year testing it. Well, 4 years have now elapsed. Is that really the thing that we wanted or need today? So as we do DevOps and get into sprint cycles where we're talking in terms of months, maybe even weeks, how do we change that paradigm? We need our stakeholders, our warfighters, sitting next to us every single sprint to define and derive requirements up front. We need them with us to help us through the testing, which happens during every single sprint. We have to change the mindset of what operational testing is at the end. So there's a lot of things to change in here, but as we go forward, we have to deliver the capabilities faster and in an agile way. And we're looking to do that with our software development efforts within this portfolio. Responsiveness. DISA is a huge network provider. You heard the numbers, how big our network is. And that's great. It's big, it's fast, it's got a lot of capacity. And my colleagues do a great job every day of keeping that thing running and protecting it. But we can no longer rely on just having the best and biggest network. We have to start building performance monitoring into our applications because users are becoming more and more demanding. Used to talk about on Mother's Day, when you pick up the phone, you want to hear dial tone, right? Because that's the peak day of the year. Now, when I pick up my device, it just better work. I better be able to get to my data. So we got to build in end-to-end performance monitoring that includes the network, the applications, the data. Can the warfighter get to their data on time, any device, anywhere? And lastly, process improvement. I talked a little bit about DevOps and how do we help the agency with process improvement. We manage the business systems. Industry has done a great job of building best practices into a lot of the tools in the business system space, and we're looking forward to take advantage of that. So let's get into a couple specific contract opportunities within the directorate. At the directorate level, we're trying to consolidate information assurance. You know, information assurance, converting over from the DIACAP to the RMF, cybersecurity validation, code reviews as part of our IVNV work. All are common functions regardless of what each program is doing. So we're trying to consolidate that in the directorate level to gain some efficiencies, gain some expertise, some depth, and a little bit more breadth of some of the experiences of the people doing this work. And we're looking for a single award in fourth quarter of 18. In the business systems area, I talked a little bit, there's a little over 20, I think 22 and specifically business systems on this chart. There's probably more out there. Anybody who's done anything with business systems knows you uncover a lot of them as you go through time and start modernizing. But these are the big ones. And we're looking that 22 is too many, okay? We need to get down to the best practices that are out there in the COTS products. We need to be leveraging going forward with software as a service even. So we're looking for ways to do that, to consolidate our business systems effort across finance, contract management, program management, human resources, and even facilities. So in this area, we have a couple contracts. Ideas, if you're familiar with that, that's our contract writing application. We're looking for software development support. That'll be projected for the second quarter of FY18. That'll probably be a GSA IT 70. Human resource management modernization. This is a big one. You know, we've been working on our financial management for the last couple of years, trying to move to a modern COTS application, and ERP in specific. In the HR area, we've had some homegrown applications in here, a pretty big one with CMIS, and we know there's some things we want to improve on that, both in the architecture and in the business process area. So we're looking for something in that space projected for, I think, the first quarter of FY19. And IRIS, again, our acquisition management system, we're looking for fourth quarter of FY20, and again, this will be the sustainment and maintenance of that until we move into, hopefully after HR, getting into our acquisition management systems again. UC. What you see in the pink line at the second row down is all the programs that exist today. And those programs will continue to operate until we get a single unified capability across a department that includes all of these features. If you look at the third line, DIOS, that's the one you keep hearing about. That is the idea of getting to one program office that can manage all those capabilities through one solution, one experience for the user. And that's the most important piece of this, the experience for the user. So this is the chart, it's been around for a little while, that kind of lays out what is in DIOS, what is in UC. And the first four columns on the left are really the fundamental capabilities that we see in what's out there today in commodity UC capabilities. I just want to call out the ones on the bottom of the collaboration list. You'll notice there's voice native there listed in native video. That's really your peer-to-peer. Think about if somebody's using that UI for that DIOS capability, and they want to call somebody else who's on that same capability, they should be able to make a peer-to-peer call through the internet using basic IP, protocols. That's not fully voice of all the bells and whistles you think about when you think about that telephone on your desk or you think about some of the other capabilities. So that's the pieces on the right, the video and the voice column, where we have a lot of heavy infrastructure today. We know eventually those capabilities will come around and be able to be done, but today's offerings just don't give us that ability to walk away from some of that yet. But we're looking to integrate with that as step one, and then down the road, as we continue to modernize, we'll look beyond that. So again, I think you've heard this over and over again. This is to replace DEE, DEPS, DCS, our collaboration capability, and some other small capabilities that are out there. Again, this is about a commodity buy that helps us with cybersecurity, the DoD buying power, and gets the cost down fundamentally. So this is the DIOS project. Again, we're working with our department leadership to understand the requirements, to make sure that we stick to the commodity offering and can get to something that is truly secure and also helps to push us into the cloud. We're looking for a projected award in fourth quarter. I would just offer that there's a lot of work going on at many people across the department. All the MILDEPs, all the agencies are involved, and those things take time that if this were to slip, it could be possible. But we're still pushing hard to do it as fast as we can because this is important. Command and control. This slide, I really just want to point out there's three basic programs: GEECS-J, GCCS-J, JPES, and GCSS. So you've got your common operating picture, you've got your planning, and then you have your for mobilizing, and then you have your logistics capabilities. They're all coming together. Two of them are already web-based. The GEECS-J platform is the one that's still a CD-ROM software delivery model today, and we're trying to break that. That's where you see GCCS-JE, the Joint Enterprise, and that's about moving to the cloud. You can see we have a very wide representation across the department for the customer base, the stakeholders, and this just gives you an idea of what we've learned over time as we've built these applications. With moving to the web, we know that there's a lot of common functions that can be reused. So this is why I talked earlier about there's not a lot out there as far as commodity offerings that help us with war-fighting logistics. But we know there's a lot of good technology, a lot of good things we can integrate into a total solution that does help the warfighter, and we see that these systems have a lot of commonality. So over time, we're not only going to build the JE, the Joint Enterprise Environment for Geeks, but we're going to migrate the other two web applications into that to create one web-based, cloud-based service that can reach globally to our warfighters and help them to fight the missions they do that are so critical. So in this space, the contracts we have, the sustainment of the current GEECS-J software, we expect a projected award in the third quarter of 18. And then the joint environment, we are using an OTA for the foundational technology and the framework that we're going to develop in, and to build out the DevOps model that will allow multiple partners to participate through the SETI vehicle. Looking for starting those awards in the third quarter. We're looking for, I know it says single award here, but what the folks are really thinking is it's going to be an IDIQ type award where we can bring multiple sprint teams on from other vendors, multiple vendors. I'm looking for those niche capabilities. Some people are going to be really experienced in something C2 related. Others are going to be really experienced in extending these capabilities to the mobile device. So it's about bringing the right partnership to the table. Again, I don't want to recognize anybody at the table as far as who they come from. I just want to know we have a team that's working to provide the best solution we can to the warfighter. And lastly, this is the testing capability. We know that the testing of our legacy C2 applications has a lot in common. There's a lot of understanding as to how they work together, and what we're looking here is to try to bring that testing capability under one contract that can help us work the testing across all the existing C2 applications while we're focusing on building the next generation JE version. And with that, that's most of the big contract actions we have out there for this coming cycle. I'll take any questions.
Mr. Carpenter, is DISA leveraging the same C2S cloud contract and architecture as the IC? And if so, how? So our cloud contract that we just awarded for Mil Cloud 2.0 is an on-premise solution. The C2SC is an off-premise solution. We're looking to understand what the IC has been able to do. In fact, our IA folks under Mr. Roger Greenwell have been doing a great job of staying in partnership and lock sync as they go through the process of certifying that solution so that we at DISA can understand how to best leverage that going forward. There have been no decisions on how to do that yet. Right now, our focus is delivering what we have with the on-premise solutions. Will the cybersecurity opportunity create an organizational conflict of interest for other opportunities in SD?
I don't believe it will. Again, cybersecurity has to be a part of our dialogue and our lexicon every day, regardless of what we're doing. Whether we're operating our own desktop as a user, whether we're talking about how we're building cyber into the network or whether we're extending that dialogue to include building cyber into the applications. So I don't see it as a conflict at all.